one and all. This is Ramavat Mohan. Welcome to KANISHKA IAS. So today we'll be discussing about the topic how water springs work out. So protect springs, protect life. Every drop that springs up sustains life. So like how springs work. So what is the principle behind the functionality of how water is coming from the underground, okay, from below the surface of the earth. So nature's hidden source of fresh water. So first of all, let us know the basic definition of what is meant by spring. A spring is a natural opening in the ground where water springs up from below the earth's surface. How does water comes up and where does the water come from? So basically the main source of the journey of water to the spring is nothing but when there is precipitation. So when there is rainfall, what happens is the water seeps into the ground. It moves as there will be the water traverses from the soil. Okay, there are some pores, small gaps are there in the soil, or we can simply say that there are different rocks like pervious rocks, or we can say porous rocks, which permit or allow the water to seep deep into the ground. And if there are impervious rock layers, then water can't seep through them. Okay, it forms. So how does the water is moving from bottom? The main thing is because of the principle of hydraulic pressure. So new water adds pressure and pushes the water from the cracks or gaps or holes, whatever is formed in the rocks. So already there will be some groundwater in the earth's surface, right? Underground water is there. So when the extra water is coming from the rainfall, it creates a pressure. It pushes that water, and wherever some, if the rocks are very weak, okay. So when there are cracks or holes, the water just pumps from that holes and comes out. So how does a spring form? So water fills the aquifer and pressure builds it. The weight of water above pushes the water below. So simply we can think about a sponge. So when you take a sponge and just dip it into the waters, what happens is the sponge sucks all the waters, okay, wherever gaps are there. So that's the same mechanism whatever is working when we talk about the springs. So basically we may get a question that where are these springs usually formed? So these springs are usually formed in the valleys and at the base of hills and slopes. And rain falls on higher land, it soaks into the ground and moves downward through the soils and rocks. At lower land what happens is pressure pushes up water up through the cracks. So basically the best examples of the rocks are the permeable rocks which have porosity are limestone and sandstone. And coming to the different types of springs, there are gravity springs, artesian springs and hot springs. So gravity springs basically they work under the mechanism of gravitational force of the earth. And coming to the artesian springs, nothing but if there are two rocks, whatever water is available over there, because of the pressure it just works as a fountain, water fountain. And coming to the hot springs, the best examples is we have got in Himachal Pradesh a place called Manikarn, and even Iceland, Japan, they have got the hot springs. So what happens is the underground water reaches very deep up till the mantle, and when it gets heated up, it comes out in the form of hot springs, with accompanying the volcanoes. And finally what is the importance or significance of the springs? So many rivers start from springs only. So the rivers, the birthplaces of rivers are basically formed from the springs, and springs keep the soil moist and even they help the plants, trees and animals survive. So in dry seasons, springs can be the only source of fresh water for wildlife, even for the human beings as well, or we can say living organisms. So for people, springs have always been a lifeline, especially in mountains and rural areas where other water sources are not easily available. Thank you so much.